Hello Turtles, welcome to Sarah Cat, Monkey Bird, and Indie Dog's Game Development Arena. Today I'd like to discuss technical debt, which is essentially the debt that builds up on a task when you start it and needs to get completely finished. It's usually invisible, something that's kind of hidden behind the surface, and tends to be not so fun to work on. I've been working on TurtleBrains, which is a two-dimensional game development framework in C++ that's cross-platform and available on Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. In December 2017, I added full screen support to Windows, as well as the ability to change the resolution at runtime, because restarting the game just to change the resolution kind of sucks, at least for a player. So the goal this week was to catch up on that technical debt, pay it off, and essentially get that support on Linux and Mac OS since it was not there. And that's what I did. Both Linux and Mac OS now have full screen support, as well as the ability to change the resolution at runtime, so the player does not need to restart the game to change resolutions. Good job. I also got a basic high-level object for rendering three-dimensional graphics in my internal combustion engine, which is kind of a bolt-on to TurtleBrains to allow me to do 3D games. Under the hood, it uses a render queue, which will eventually be sorting to minimize state changes and or other performance implications. Currently, it just renders the graphic objects in the order that they came in, which is not the best, but like I said, eventually there's more plans to support better features and higher performance. I've also went forward with the decision to try using Blender as an editor for my games, and doing this requires an exporter to export the game data and an importer to import it. Thanks to TS Yost for writing almost all of the Blender exporter as it is now, in fact all of it minus some of the repo readme. The exporter can export objects, paths, triggers, and each of these can have custom properties. It will get transformed from Blender space to game space as one may require, and is freely available on GitHub. There's going to be a link down in the description below. So that's the stuff that went to plan this week, but what about those things that changed? Well, my girlfriend, Dizzy, wound up getting into a small car accident, and while nobody was hurt or injured, the car was totaled, which means we had to get the car towed, basically sidetrack some things. The render target supporting context changing right now is probably not quite required for Ludum Dare 41. There's more high-level stuff that I could be working on to make the pipeline for three-dimensional work a little bit easier. Going into next week, I'm going to spend one day adding support to my StreamBot, hoping to add little chat messages so that it can tell people what my long-term and short-term goals are. I'm going to spend 2 days ensuring the 3D project template is actually in working condition and testing out that pipeline to ensure that I can get models and game information from Blender into the game. There will also be probably 2 to 3 days getting the internal combustion engine components working for WebGL platform. This is something I'm not 100% convinced that I'm going to do, but I'm leaning towards doing it, so that's going to go on this list. Basically, this week I'm going to wing it a little bit and try to make as many improvements as I can to go into Ludum Dare with the best foot forward. Finally, if I have time, I will be making improvements to my mesh management by caching the meshes, adding resource acquisition is initialization, and supporting hot loading. That's my plans for next week. Have you guys have any technical debt in your projects? If so, how do you get through paying it? As always, Turtles, until later, have a good one.